Senegal, once considered one of West Africa's most stable democracies, is now facing one of the most significant political crises in its modern history. The political alliance that brought President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and Ousmane Sonko to power in 2024 has officially fractured, triggering uncertainty inside Senegal and concerns across the water of our West Africa region. The crisis intensified after President Faye dismissed Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko and dissolved the government. These two men, once considered the closest political allies, now find themselves on two different sides of the political equation. But the funny thing about the two men split is the both of them came to power together. And let's go back a little bit on the crisis between Bassirou Diomaye Faye and Ousmane Sonko. Sonko was the dominant political figure in the bad tax movement, that is PASTEF. And Sonko was considered, and Faye was considered his closest deputy. The two men fought against the political establishment in Senegal, and they came to power in 2024. Sonko was the dominant political figure within the movement, and Faye was considered his closest deputy. And the reason I'm talking about this situation in Senegal is this. I already said that Senegal is one of the most stable democracies in West Africa. And if political tension, political division, and political instability rivals Senegal, the wider West African sub-region is in a bigger crisis. I'm saying this to say you already have the Sahel split, the Sahel alliance between the military junta in Senegal, in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. And now when you have Senegal coming in the picture, political tension happening in Senegal, that's going to complicate things in West Africa and Africa in general. But let us come back to what the situation is in Senegal right now. The situation in Senegal, from my own perspective, is one guy who stayed in a campaign mode and another guy who believes that now that he has been elected president, it is his responsibility to lead. Faye now sees as somebody responsible for the lives of Senegalese. I'm not saying that Sonko doesn't see himself like that, but I think Sonko is still in a campaign mode, and that complicated. Let's see what the tension is between the two men. The tension between the two men is about INF debt negotiation, because two President Faye government came to power. Senegal is facing a very serious debt problem. So the two men came to power on the back of those things. But first of all, they campaign on anti-corruption, economic sovereignty, institutional reform. These were some of the slogans that came that helped them come to power and push out the establishment in Senegal, winning the elections in 2024. When Faye won the presidency, he appointed his he appointed Sonko as the prime minister. So Sonko, who was the dominant political figure, was prevented from running in 2024 after court rulings. So during the campaign, there were slogans by their supporters that their money is Sonko. That alone tells you that how close the two men were. So when the election was held, Faye won the election, appointed this guy prime minister. I initially said these guys, Sonko finds himself staying in the campaign mode. I'm just prognosticating. I'm just guessing. I'm just looking. Because he was the dominant political figure supposed to run as the president in the 2024 elections, didn't. I think he still feels that he's supposed to be the president. So he's staying in a campaign mode. He has not transitioned to governing mode. But then look at the other side. Why this crisis? After his dismissal, right? After Sonko's dismissal, the government was dissolved. The president appointed Ahmadou Lo. Lo is not a popular political figure, but he's an economist. So I think the president is trying to tell the international community that he's still committed to stabilizing Senegal's finances. He said try to ensure investors that Senegal is a stable democracy. But right after the dismissal of Sonko, he was elected prime minister. So you got two things happening simultaneously. A new prime minister was appointed. Sonko was elected by his colleagues as Speaker of the National Assembly. So Senegal is facing a very delicate political situation where Sonko has major influence in the national legislature, and Faye now try to center power around the executive. The appointment of a respected economist now can reinsure investors that Senegal is ready to move forward with economic reform. But yeah, the situation that might happen, right? Sonko might be an obstruction of the president's agenda in parliament. But that is might. Because in parliament now you have different parties and opinions. So why it's true that he is now the Speaker of the Parliament, everybody knows how difficult it is to leave Parliament because everybody there, every parliamentary member is an independent person who, though they toe the party lines, most of them are independent thinkers. So it's not going to be easy, not because he is being elected Speaker of the Parliament, he has absolute control over Parliament. But that is a discussion for another day. You know, most revolutionary figures forget all political people in opposition. They forget to know being in opposition is different from leading a country. So if you in opposition, you can talk, you can criticize. But when you win the presidency or you win as prime minister, whatsoever it is now time for governing a country. And that is different from campaigning, because now your responsibility is to ensure that your people needs are met, decisions are made, not just talking. It's now time for govern the country. And I think that where the problem between the two men is Sonko got stuck in campaigning instead of campaign more. And I think he's doing this because he wants to run again for president, because I think in the background he still have that in mind that he's supposed to be the president of Senegal. But West Africa will be looking to how the situation unfolds. We hope that Senegal stabilizes, and it has stabilized. It has stabilized. We will be looking and watching to see what happens. People always say, "Oh, now." I was looking at something on Facebook, and some people are saying, "Oh, ECOWAS and AU don't want to intervene in the crisis in Senegal. They're waiting for things to go on." No, ECOWAS and the African Union don't just intervene in crisis in the political situation. The situation in Senegal is contained, it's controlled. The situation is happening within the institutional or constitutional institutional framework. So there is no need for ECOWAS or African Union to intervene in the situation. Yes, there have been protests, but those international organizations have benchmarks that they follow. They have phases of intervention. Right now, what's happening is not. It doesn't call for ECOWAS or AU to intervene. I know people will say but they are facing a very delicate balancing act right now, because intervene right now and being considered as intrusive would later in the crisis deepen. They are facing a very delicate balancing act. But the whole thing there is AU and ECOWAS cannot intervene. But there's a test. There's a very, very big test for ECOWAS, because ECOWAS is already facing the junta breakaway in West Africa. And when we have the political rupture in Senegal, people are going to be looking at democracy cannot sustain the kind of a split. But Senegal, Africa depends on Senegal's. West Africa depends on Senegal's political resilience, and the situation right now is being contained, from what I can see. And other opposition politicians got to learn that being in opposition is different from leading a government. If you are leading a government, it is your responsibility to ensure that decisions are made. And so the IMF debt restructuring program that brought the split between the two men, I think with the appointment of Ahmadou Lo as the new Prime Minister, investors have been ensured that Senegal is a stable country, and I hope that they can continue the debt restructuring program. I know there are many African countries that are so skeptical of when it comes to IMF restructuring programs, but right now I think that Senegal political leaders have understood that, have been tested before, and this is just another test to make them stronger. So the problem with Senegal is contained. West Africa, ECOWAS and the African Union cannot intervene right now because the situation is contained. And another thing that Africa should be learning from the situation is political splits, political tensions happen in many countries. But political leaders should learn how to handle this crisis without going into a full-blown conflict. So yes, there were demonstrations in Senegal by Sonko supporters, but I think they have recognized that you can demonstrate, but you got to still operate within the framework of the law. And it's true that Sonko has been appointed Prime Minister, but he understands that they are not very appointed Speaker of the Parliament, but he now understands that it is their responsibility to lead the country, to stabilize the country and solve the country's problem. Folks, my name is Pico Kangwe, and I'm talking about the situation in Senegal, where the Prime Minister was dismissed. Two men who came to power, who symbolized the revolution in Senegal. now at different end of the political spectrum. And one of the things that is troubling is that the split is happening within the same ruling coalition. Both men are in the same ruling coalition. Now, their split now is going to divide the movement further, because you're going to have people who are going to align with Sonko, and you're going to have people who are aligned with the president. So the movement that came to power, that symbolized the revolution, quote unquote revolution in Senegal, is now split. But I think West Africa has learned a lesson, and I think Senegal has shown that political resilience, is still possible in West Africa. So, folks, the reason I'm doing this piece is to show to you that campaigning is one thing, but leading is another thing. So, both men have to understand that it is a responsibility to lead Senegal, to govern Senegal, make decisions that are in the interest of Senegal. I hope that the situation remains the way it is, and it doesn't deteriorate into conflict, because West Africa has too much conflicts. We have to protect the democracies that we have. Big folks, my name is Pico Conway. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I want to thank those of you who subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back tomorrow with another interesting topic discussing African issues. Folks, have a great day. Bye for now. This is when the dust settles. Have a great day. Bye for now.